Our top focus right now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed the death of former parliamentary speaker Andriy Parubiy, who was murdered in the western city of Lviv. Zelensky said authorities are currently investigating the murder with a search underway for the killer. This comes as Russia's defense ministry reported strikes on Ukrainian military facilities overnight. It said Russian forces targeted enterprises, rocket and aviation facilities and military airfields, causing further damage to Ukraine's infrastructure. In a separate incident, Russian strikes in Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia region have killed one person and injured 24, including 3 children. Authorities in the region have reported severe damage to residential buildings and infrastructure. Ukrainian Air Defense Forces have stated that it has downed over 500 planes and 30 missiles in the latest offensive. Andriy Parubiy, war reporter, joins us live on the broadcast. Mr. Parubiy, I want to understand, what do you make of the latest strikes, given that there is an attempt to find a way by the United States of America to bring both Russia and Ukraine to the table, but in the background of the strikes and counterstrikes continuing, why is there a hesitation to agree to a temporary ceasefire?
Well, in fact, the war is continuing, and despite any attempt by Donald Trump to make a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Why? Because all the parts, Ukraine and Russia, continue to have claims about reasons, and they want even more. For example, from Ukrainian side, we see that Zelensky is not available to reach a peace treaty without what he calls security guarantees for Ukraine. And there is a big problem for this because Ukraine is not a member of NATO, and without the membership of NATO, Ukraine cannot have the security of Article 5 from the North Atlantic Treaty. And Donald Trump said many times that the membership of Ukraine in NATO is completely impossible. This is the first problem. The second problem is about the Russian claim of the territory of what in Russia it's called the new Russian territories, like Lugansk, where I'm now, or Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson regions. These regions are now officially part of Russian Federation, but the international community refused to recognize this de facto situation. And for Russia, it's important that the international community will recognize the Russian claims on these territories. And Zelensky himself told that he will never recognize this territory as a part of Russia, even Crimea, that is de facto Russia since more than 10 years. This is a big, Donald Trump himself said that this is the biggest difficulty for reach a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Both leaders have requests and some red lines that they will not make any steps back.
Mr. Parubiy, but at the same time, what will it now take to build some sort of confidence and trust between the two sides? Because while the talks can take place, there has to be some end to the strikes and counterstrikes and to the damage of infrastructure that's taking place in both Russia and Ukraine.
Well, yeah, this is a part, unfortunately, it's a part of the war. Ukraine continue to launch drone attacks against Russia, and Russia make the same with missiles and drone also against the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, where the main part of the military industry are based, because now there is, since some months, these new tactics from Ukraine to base small factories for drones inside civilians building a residential building for decentralize the military production. And these tactics for the security of the military factory, it works, but it's a big risk for the civilians that are living in this neighborhood. Ukraine begin to attack some refinery and oil factories for attack the oil industry of Russia, that it's very important for the base economy of the Russian Federation, because now we know that the West is concentrated for make sanctions against the Russian oil and also for the customers of Russia, the organization and the corporation that continue to buy Russian oil. In Europe Europe and in the US was a big discussion about India, for example, that it's continuing to buy Russian oil, and Donald Trump wanted to make sanctions against India for this, but then this was not applied. And I think from my point of view is that any country that is not involved in this war, and India is not involved in the war, can make a business with whom India wants, like a sovereign state. But unfortunately, we live in a world where some states and some sovereign state organization pretend to be like a world police. As a war correspondent that is based in Lugansk, I can say that the civilians that are living here, and they know the war since more than 10 years, because the war here was exploded in 2014, not in 2022. They want peace. They want to live living normally in a peaceful world. But in my point of view, the situation is very complicated. And since till the Ukrainian side will refuse to recognize the reality of the battleground, will be very difficult to make some progress for reach the peace.
Mr. Lucidi, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with that perspective. We leave it there. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping has reaffirmed his country's